Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. We're coming on the air because President Trump has just announced that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is out of a job. This follows reports that the president was frustrated by her recent testimony on Capitol Hill. Noem under fire from both parties over her job performance and her handling of the immigration crackdown, and that includes her response to the deadly shooting by federal agents of two American citizens, Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Just moments ago, the president saying he's naming Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin to become the next Secretary of Homeland Security. Let's get straight to our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce. Mary, what do we know?
Well, Kira, the president just announcing this in a social media post that Markwayne Mullin is going to become the new Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security as of the end of this month.
Hey there, everyone. So, big news today. President Trump just made it official that Kristi Noem is no longer the Homeland Security Secretary. This follows a wave of frustration from him regarding her recent testimony in front of Congress. It seems both parties have been giving her a hard time over how she's been handling her job, including the controversial immigration crackdown. The pressure really mounted after the tragic incident where federal agents shot two American citizens, Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Just a little while ago, Trump announced he's bringing in Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin as the new Secretary of Homeland Security, effective at the end of this month. Things have been pretty explosive lately, and I mean that quite literally. Trump publicly fired Noem, and it was quite the spectacle. He said she betrayed him, labeled her disloyal, and even called her a traitor. Talk about a dramatic turn of events. It all unfolded just hours before the Department of Justice released those long-held Epstein files, which included allegations against Trump about sexual abuse of a minor, allegations stemming from an FBI interview that described child sexual abuse. Before we dive deeper, let's just take a moment to acknowledge that trusting mainstream media can be tough these days. That's actually why we created Pump Politics, to deliver real stories, genuine context, and avoid that corporate spin. If you're looking to stay informed, consider signing up for our free newsletter where we send the latest news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description. And if you believe in what we're doing, come join our community that truly values the truth. Now back to the unfolding story. Increasingly frustrated with Noem's performance lately, especially after her congressional testimony, things have been heating up in a major way. It's honestly hard to believe how everything unfolded. So, first off, there was this big ad campaign costing $220 million that was approved by Noem. This campaign was aimed at encouraging immigrants to self-deport, which definitely raised a few eyebrows. And then, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana mentioned that the president was, in his words, quote, pissed about it. Noem then told Kennedy that the president was aware of her decision about the campaign contracts, and that's when things really started to get tense with the White House and Trump himself. It seems like this was the moment that tipped the scales. Before this situation, the president had already been frustrated with Noem over how she managed immigration enforcement operations. Then, something pretty strange happened. Noem gets fired, and not long after, some damaging files related to Epstein are suddenly released. The timing seems just too suspicious to be a mere coincidence. Just hours after her firing, the Department of Justice drops these files that could seriously harm Trump's reputation. Meanwhile, Noem takes to social media on X, hinting that she has some big revelations about Mar-a-Lago secrets coming soon. It's almost as if she's teasing that she has dirt on Trump and plans to use it. This entire situation feels like something out of a drama in a third world country or an authoritarian regime. You've got a cabinet member firing back by leaking sensitive or classified information to hurt the president. This is serious insider warfare. It's revenge at its finest, using access to confidential information as a weapon right after being publicly humiliated and dismissed by the most powerful person in the country. The content of those Epstein files is alarming. According to documents released by the Department of Justice, there's an FBI interview with a woman claiming that Trump sexually abused her when she was a minor, alleging the abuse occurred from the ages of 13 to 15. This isn't just a civil matter or a political squabble. It's a grave allegation of child sexual abuse, and it's something that absolutely calls for a thorough investigation. However, it's important to tread carefully as we're dealing with a serious accusation and discussing a claim made by a third party, not the woman herself. An FBI interview just got some serious attention thanks to newly released documents. This isn't just chatter or wild conspiracy talk. We're looking at official government papers outlining serious criminal accusations, and you have to consider the timing. Trump lets Noem go, blaming her for issues that may not even fully be her doing. She's fired by a guy who expects unwavering loyalty, and suddenly she's seen as the one who's betrayed him. Then, out of nowhere, we start seeing damaging info about Trump popping up, and Noem is practically sending signals on social media that she's behind the leaks. It's clear this is revenge. Here's a cabinet secretary who got the boot and is now using her access to classified information to hit back at the president, and she's leaking allegations tied to child sexual abuse, which shows just how furious she is with Trump over her firing. She's willing to risk hefty legal consequences to settle the score, and that just amplifies how explosive the whole situation is. Now, throw in the fact that Trump has been relentless in attacking the Justice Department and the courts, trying to grab power and stifle independent institutions. Enter a cabinet member with DOJ access who decides to leak sensitive files that put Trump in a bad light. This is a total breakdown of order within the Trump administration, a glimpse into what chaos looks like when control slips away. Trump is understandably livid about all of this. He hopped onto Truth Social and branded Noem a traitor, insisting she turned on him like a dog and claiming she's part of a fake news witch hunt. Deep down, he knows exactly what's happened. Noem leaked those files out of spite for being fired, and now he feels powerless because the damage is already done. Ironically, Noem was expected to be one of Trump's loyal soldiers, yet here we are. Just a little while back, during the Mar-a-Lago document scandal, she was right in line with the team. So we've got this situation where someone named Noem was all about supporting Trump even when others were criticizing him. But it looks like that loyalty wasn't mutual. Trump could toss her aside and make a show of firing her, but she couldn't turn around and leak any info to get back at him. That's just not how loyalty works in his world. What we're seeing here is a total breakdown of order within the Trump administration. Cabinet members are leaking classified information as a way to get back at being let go. You've got allegations popping up about Trump from the Epstein case, and it seems they're coming straight from his own administration. It's like a wild scene of chaos and revenge, and there goes any sense of discipline or loyalty. These leaked files contain some really serious stuff. We're talking about allegations of child sexual abuse and a claim from a woman who says Trump abused her when she was a minor. This isn't something you can just ignore. It could lead to legal trouble and criminal investigations. But instead of addressing these serious claims, Trump is busy throwing shade at Noem and trying to downplay the leaks. His focus is on retaliation against her and making her regret ever leaking anything. The information is already out in the open, though, and the damage is done. This whole mess is a perfect example of what happens when the president doesn't play by the rules or understand that loyalty needs to go both ways. When you publicly fire cabinet members and humiliate them, they're bound to get upset. And when they do, they'll use whatever they can to hit back, especially if they've got access to sensitive information. Noem got her moment of humiliation and apparently felt betrayed after being loyal to Trump. So, it seems she decided to use the access she had to expose Trump's secrets. Everything seems to be crumbling around Trump's administration, and it's becoming pretty obvious to everyone. The military is frustrated as the situation with the Iran war is spiraling out of control. Meanwhile, the Justice Department is in a state of chaos because Trump wanted it to protect some pretty unconstitutional actions. Courts are standing their ground and not letting intimidation get to them while Congress is revolting. Even within the cabinet, there's talk of leaking damaging information, and you can sense that revenge is in the air. It's like a domino effect where everything's falling apart at once. When you lead an administration based solely on power and fear without any respect for people, institutions, or the limits of the Constitution, you create a perfect storm for trouble. People get angry, they seek revenge, and if they have access to sensitive government info, you bet they'll leak it. That's what a breakdown of that structure looks like in real time. Now let's dive into what went down with Kristi Noem and why it's such a big deal. Her firing is crucial to understand as it sheds light on Trump's style of management. Noem was the Secretary of Homeland Security, a big role responsible for immigration policy and border security. Apparently, she decided to greenlight a $200 million anti-immigrant advertising campaign without getting Trump's stamp of approval first. What's interesting is that this campaign was meant to support Trump's immigration agenda. It was designed to rally his base and align with his messaging. But Trump was kept in the dark, and when he found out, he was furious. He felt she crossed the line and acted independently, leading him to fire her publicly. He claimed she betrayed him, was disloyal, and even likened her actions to being turned on like a dog. This wasn't some quiet resignation behind the scenes. No, it was a public firing meant to humiliate her and send a clear message to his entire cabinet. He replaced her with Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, probably someone he believes will be more loyal and run decisions past him before taking action. It's a clear sign of who's really in charge and how Trump handles dissent. It's really interesting how this firing wasn't just about the advertising campaign itself. It was much deeper than that. The thing to grasp here is that this firing was all about loyalty. Trump was sending a clear message to his cabinet. If you make significant decisions without checking in with him, you're gone. If you act independently, you're out. And if you can't show total obedience to Trump, you'd better start looking for a new job. That's the plain and simple truth he was laying out for all his cabinet secretaries. This pattern just keeps repeating throughout Trump's administration, where loyalty trumps competence. It's all about obedience over independent judgment. Trump wants cabinet members who will follow his directives without question or hesitation. If they stray from that path, they get publicly fired and humiliated in front of everyone. That's a troubling sign when it comes to governance, because it means those cabinet members will be more focused on keeping Trump happy rather than doing their jobs well. People are going to be hesitant to speak up, leading to a cabinet ripe with fear and lacking independent analysis or diverse perspectives. Everyone will just be scrambling to figure out what Trump wants instead of functioning as a well-oiled government machine. On top of that, this loyalty-driven environment raises real concerns legally, as it creates a circle of people who are afraid to challenge him. Cabinet secretaries who might suspect Trump is engaging in illegal or unconstitutional actions are going to keep their mouths shut just to avoid the axe. Now, this is the kind of system that Trump has fostered with his loyalty politics. However, in this case, Noem seems to have decided that fear wouldn't hold her back. She clearly took it upon herself to use any information she had to strike back at Trump for how he treated her. After he publicly fired and embarrassed her, she went for leverage to get some payback. Hours after her dismissal, the Department of Justice released files concerning Epstein that include allegations of child sexual abuse linked to Trump. Whether Noem actually leaked those files herself, or if they were released for some other reason, remains a bit murky. So here's the thing. Noem, who was serving as the Homeland Security Secretary, got fired, and right after that, some pretty damaging files suddenly get released to the public. It's hard not to feel that the timing is a little suspicious. I mean, these files had been kept under wraps for quite a while. Sure, Noem doesn't have direct control over the Department of Justice, but you can bet she has some connections and access to information within the government. Then, right after her dismissal, she drops a hint on social media that there's more to come about the secrets surrounding Mar-a-Lago, making it pretty clear she's saying, I have some dirt on Trump, and I'm not done yet. It definitely feels like a move for revenge, like she's using any leverage she has to throw shade on the person who just let her go. What makes this situation even more concerning is the nature of the information being leaked. We're talking serious allegations of child sexual abuse here. Reports about the documents indicate that they include an FBI interview with a woman claiming Trump sexually abused her when she was just between 13 and 15 years old. That's not an allegation to be brushed aside or labeled as fake news. It's a criminal accusation. Now, of course, we need to tread lightly when it comes to the accuracy and credibility of this claim because it's serious stuff we're dealing with. We don't have all the details about what the FBI did or didn't pursue regarding these claims. All we know is that this interview seems to exist and lays out a serious allegation. The mere fact that it's been made public is significant, as it points to the FBI having documented evidence concerning child sexual abuse allegations against Trump. And given the nature of these files being withheld for so long, the timing of their release raises even more eyebrows. It's definitely a development worth keeping an eye on, as it could lead to further investigations and even possible legal ramifications. So, right after Noem got fired, some files were released. It makes you wonder why they were let out now instead of earlier when there might have been more time to deal with them. It seems like someone wanted to retaliate because of the situation, and there's a lot of speculation about whether it was Noem herself, someone in her department, or even someone in the DOJ who might sympathize with her. But the timing is quite suspicious. She gets fired, and just a few hours later, damaging stuff about Trump pops up. No whispers on social media leading up to the leak either, which adds to the intrigue. This whole situation has big political implications. Trump is already knee-deep in criminal cases, and now we've got allegations of child sexual abuse from government documents. That's the sort of thing that could really shake up the political landscape. and ignite discussions about Trump's resignation or impeachment. Instead of addressing the issues at hand, Trump is zeroing in on Noem, attacking her and trying to discredit the leak. He seems more focused on his revenge against her, insisting that it's just a disgruntled cabinet member leaking information out of spite. He's labeling Noem as a traitor who betrayed him, and he's been venting on Truth Social about it. Sure, maybe Noem did leak those files out of revenge, but that doesn't change the realities of the allegations. The files are out in the open, and there's a record from an FBI interview concerning a woman who claims Trump abused her when she was a minor. To wrap this up, let's consider what this whole no firing an Epstein file situation means moving forward. The key takeaway here is that it shows a complete breakdown of the Trump administration. A cabinet secretary gets fired and immediately starts leaking sensitive documents. That's not how a stable government operates. All right, so let's dive into what's going on. There's been a real breakdown of order, and it's more than just chaos. The allegations popping up from the Epstein files are incredibly serious and absolutely deserve attention. We're talking about allegations of child sexual abuse, which is about a woman claiming that Trump abused her when she was a minor. That's not something we can just brush aside. It's a matter that cries out for a thorough investigation and a serious response from law enforcement. Next, there's the timing of all this, which is quite intriguing. These files have been kept under wraps for quite a while, yet they just happened to be released right after Noem was fired. She seems to be implying that she might have a hand in this, which raises some eyebrows about whether someone in the administration decided to leak those files as payback for her firing. Regardless of who actually leaked them, the damage is already done. Now, the allegations are out there, and Trump can't just pretend they don't exist. Sure, he can lash out at Noem or call her a traitor, or even vent on True Social, but at the end of the day, those files are in public view for everyone to read. This situation really highlights a major flaw in Trump's approach to loyalty. When he publicly fires people and humiliates them, it creates bitterness, and if those people have access to sensitive information, it can end badly, like we're seeing now. Trump may have built a system based on fear and loyalty, but he didn't factor in that some people would choose revenge over fear. The implications for the whole administration are pretty serious and alarming. If cabinet secretaries know they could be fired at any moment, they might really consider leaking classified information as a way to get back at Trump. If that becomes a norm, then we could see a government where sensitive files are constantly leaking with angry officials using them as weapons. That's a scary thought for national security and for how the government functions. It's just not good for anyone involved. Finally, getting into the specifics of the allegations in the Epstein files, the woman claims Trump sexually abused her when she was between 13 and 15 years old. We're talking about a serious criminal allegation here involving child sexual abuse, which should certainly not be taken lightly. It's quite noteworthy that this allegation appears in an FBI interview. We should tread carefully since we don't have all the details. We aren't sure how credible the woman was deemed by investigators or if there was any supporting evidence. What we do know is that the interview exists and includes a serious allegation of child sexual abuse against Trump. The mere existence of that interview is significant. It indicates that the FBI has officially documented this allegation, which is now part of the public record and could lead to some serious consequences for him. If there's enough evidence, prosecutors might dig deeper, and they could even bring charges if the evidence supports it. This situation goes beyond just another scandal that Trump can dismiss. It's a potential criminal issue, yet his response has been to attack Noem and undermine the leak instead of addressing the gravity of the allegations. It seems he's treating this like a political problem rather than looking at it as a serious issue, and that's a risky game considering how severe these allegations are. It's also important to view this in the bigger picture. Trump is juggling multiple crises all at once. The conflict in Iran is intensifying, the Justice Department is facing turmoil due to constitutional breaches, the courts are blocking his policies, Congress is in uproar, and his felony conviction still stands. On top of that, his own cabinet is leaking damaging information about him. Everything appears to be unraveling, and Trump doesn't seem to have a clear plan for moving forward. His typical response to crises is to lash out and try to discredit anyone who stands in his way. But that's not a way to govern. It's more like burning bridges and making enemies. Looking ahead, the midterm elections in 2026 are right around the corner, and this Epstein scandal is bound to be a major point of contention. Democrats will surely seize on these allegations against Trump, calling for investigations and demanding he addresses the serious claims against him. Defending himself will be tricky since the allegations are rooted in official FBI documents, which could spell trouble for Republicans in the midterms. Voters are likely going to pay attention to all this chaos. There's a lot going on around Trump right now, and I can't help but notice how all these different crises are piling up. It's like a perfect storm. Allegations tied to Epstein, a felony conviction hanging over his head, issues with Iran, and the Justice Department just falling apart. Then you have courts blocking his policies and Congress seemingly revolting. It's all happening at the same time, and it's shaping how people are viewing his presidency. What's really concerning is how voters are going to react. The credibility of the person making allegations is definitely going to raise eyebrows, but so will Trump's response. Instead of addressing the allegations head-on, he seems to be more focused on attacking the messenger. That's not a good look and will likely dominate the political scene moving forward. The stakes are high as this could really influence whether he can cling to his presidency or face some serious consequences like removal or resignation. On top of all that, the national security implications are pretty scary. We're seeing cabinet secretaries leaking classified information, often out of spite after being fired. That's a big deal because sensitive government information shouldn't be tossed around for political gripes. It opens a door for foreign governments to potentially exploit this info, and it could compromise important sources and methods just because someone is seeking revenge. Trump's administration seems to have prioritized loyalty over securing our national interests or respecting institutional norms. Instead of creating a culture where information is kept confidential, he's created one where leaks happen if someone's unhappy. As all this chaos unfolds, his options appear limited. Sure, he could dig into who leaked the Epstein files and try to retaliate, but even that won't erase the damage. Those files are out there, the allegations are documented, and he could try to undermine the credibility of the woman making the claims, but that would come off poorly, like he's attacking a victim. So, yeah, it's quite the mess, and it's only going to get more complicated from here. Right now, we're witnessing quite a crisis unfold before our eyes, and it's hard to ignore. We have a president who's a convicted felon, which already raises a lot of eyebrows. The situation is further complicated by cabinet secretaries leaking classified information and the Justice Department facing serious issues. Courts are starting to block policies, and Congress is in turmoil, all while allegations of child sexual abuse come to light. This is the kind of chaos that signals institutional breakdown. It's pretty clear what happens when the leader of a country doesn't respect constitutional limits or institutional norms. When a government is built solely on loyalty and fear, everything comes crashing down and institutions fail. The country pays the price for this kind of governance. As for Trump, he's likely going to stick to his usual tactics. Instead of addressing the serious allegations against him, he'll probably go on the attack, calling it a witch hunt, blaming the media, pointing fingers at Democrats, and ranting on social media. But none of that will make those allegations disappear. This is a crucial moment for us. Everything hinges on whether the rule of law can withstand this test and if our institutions can stand strong. It's essential that we keep a close eye on this situation as it's shaping the future of our nation.